Hello, everybody. We're back again today. Sam St. John and I, we're doing our third album in the Beatles chronology. We're taking a look at each of the albums in consecutive order. There it is, A Hard Day's Night from 1964. And what we're doing is ranking the songs worst to best. We've done the first two. This is number three. And personally, it's my favorite of their first five albums. I would put this at the top of those first five. That's just the way I feel about it. This was recorded between January and June of '64, like I said, in the midst of all that hectic touring and the Ed Sullivan Show and the filming of the movie. All 13 songs are Lennon and McCartney tunes, no covers on this particular album. So, Sam, what do you think? Great to have you back. Can't wait to dive in and see where we land on this one.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. And like you said, this is actually the only Beatles album that is Lennon McCartney. Because even Harrison, the songs that he sings are Lennon McCartney songs, and Ringo, actually, no, Ringo doesn't even have a song on this one.
I don't think he's got one here. No,
it's one of the few where Ringo isn't even represented. But yeah, it's a fun album. It really is kind of one of the many turning points of the Beatles' short career, where they really prove themselves as songwriters, and they're in the midst of beginning Beatlemania for the next couple of years. So this was a fun one to rank.
It's weird how the first couple that we did had 14 songs, and the next one's going to have 14. This only has 13, so I don't know if that's any significance or not. But anyway, we'll do the usual thing, back and forth. You'll start at your 13, and we'll go back and forth and see where we land.
Okay, yeah. Again, number 13. Instead of the normal 14 is the song I'll Cry Instead, which is it's a second side. I mean, it's one of the second sides of the album, one of those songs on the B side. And again, when Hard Day's Night was released, I think in the States predominantly, it was the soundtrack with kind of like Magical Mystery Tour, where they had the Hard Day's Night A side of all original songs, and the B side were just instrumental scores by George Martin. So for the UK version, which was what we're looking at, I'll Cry Instead, it's one of those B sides that it's kind of just typical Beatles early filler. Kind of got a neat little like country sounding guitar on the beginning. It's a great vocal by John, but it's just not one that I find myself humming along to. So that's my number 13.
Very good. I have that quite a bit higher, but we'll get to that. My least favorite song at number 13 is When I Get Home. This is one that I really don't care for. The other 12, I would say, are positive reviews from me. I just never vibe with this song. It's filler. And, whoa, I don't know. It's got the Beatles sound to a bit, but I do like the line, love her till the cows come home.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But
which I think they said that was one of the worst Beatles lines ever. I think they can in books, and yeah.
That's symbolic of one of the reasons why I don't dig that song that much. But anyway, the next 12 are going to be thumbs up for me. That's the only thumbs down song I have on the whole album, which is good.
Yeah. Well, that's my number 12 is When I Get Home. So kind of the same reasons. It's filler. I mean, it's 11 out of 13 tracks. So it's kind of tucked in there. They knocked out their singles and the hits kind of early on the album. But yeah, it's filler. The whoa, whoa, wah. I never really got into that as much when I was listening to it as a kid. Like that, it wasn't quite the same hook as, like, yeah, with like She Loves You or something like that. Something about it. It was like they were trying to like rehash that same magic, and it just didn't come across the same. So that's number 12. Same reason. It doesn't
really work in context. I mean, I think they were looking for something different than yeah or whoa, whoa, whoa.
The whoa, whoa, why. Yeah.
Whoa, why. Yeah. My next number 12 is the George song, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You. Not a George written song, but a performed song. It's okay. It's great to hear George's voice on the album. I always like that. But there's better material on this album for me. It's kind of a mediocre deep cut. I still like it. I like it definitely better than When I Get Home, but not as much as the other songs. I'm Happy Just to Dance with You. I kind of like it now that I'm thinking about it in my head, but It landed at 12.
Yeah. My number 11 is the last track on the album, I'll Be Back.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool like minor key. It sounds different, I would say, than a lot of Beatles songs. Just kind of the mix between like a ballad and a pop song, but if you break my heart, I'll go, but I'll be back again. It's kind of like a revenge song, kind of like, you can't stay away from me that easy. Kind of a typical sounding John song, kind of got that despair in it and that negativity that John was so famous for having. All through his career, even up until the 80s, he always had that doubt, and that part of that was his childhood. But it's kind of like that neat little bridge, like I love her so, and then whoa, 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 oh, it's a good song, I guess, to end this album with, but again, it's not one that I've reached for.
Yeah, I got that one a little higher in the middle of the pack. I do like it. My number 11 is Tell Me Why, another John song. I do like the call and response, the method on this. Well, I gave you everything I had, but you left me sitting on my own. Did I have to treat you so bad? All I do is hang my head and moan. Tell me why. And then they get into the chorus. And why you cry to me, lied to me. Great stuff. It's got that sing-along vibe. Good vocal by John, but it's bottom end material for me on this album.
Yeah.
But I do like it. Gotta keep saying that.
Yeah, I've got that one a little bit further down myself. My number 10, so we're in the top 10, is You Can't Do That, which it's one of those I always like, he says, because I told you before to.
Right.
It's again another good John tune. I think there was always the line where they say everybody's green because I'm the one that wants your love. I never really liked that line.
I don't like it either.
Just the way that they harmonize on it, they say green, but it's good harmony, but something about that line I never liked. It's almost like they were rushed to get it done. I believe that they were rushed to get a lot of these songs written because they had the film coming out. They had all the singles. They had songs climbing to the charts. 2 of them from this album were #1 hits. And they were the first to admit, especially John, that they were putting out a lot of filler to get these film soundtracks out, to get the films up and running, right, so that they would have a full album's worth of material. And you can really see that show on the next album that we'll be ranking. Just between 1963 and 64, really until 65, they were just exhausted and just cranking out songs. So I think this is just one of those that they had it right to get, a 30-minute album.
Yep. That's going to be slightly ahead on my list. My number 10 is Anytime at All. It's melodic. Again, it's borderline filler. It's not top shelf Beatle material. And it reminds me so much of a lot of British invasion groups such as Dave Clark 5, Herman's Hermits, Freddie and the Dreamers. I could see any of them doing this song. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is call and I'll be there.
Down.
Yeah, I can see any of those. I can see Dave Clark 5 for sure doing that song, and all the ones I mentioned. It's kind of just a pop British invasion.
Even early Who could have done it. Yeah.
I could have seen them giving that song away and somebody else having a hit with it, but it's okay. It's good.
Yeah.
Makes the top 10. Yeah,
well, it's my number 9. So just to kind of jump in on that, it's one. I think it could have been. I think it might have, if they had pushed it, could have been a pretty good single.
Yeah.
Because you have like the John vocal and the Paul, the high harmony, anytime at all. Mm-hmm. There's actually a great version of this song that Bryan Adams does. I like Bryan Adams a lot, the 80s singer. He did an album, I think in 2014, called The Tracks of My Years, where he sings songs that influenced him as a teenager. And I think that's the opening song on the album. And he does a really cool version of it, pretty straightforward, but it's a rocker. It's like you said, it could have been done by everybody from Herman's Hermits to the Kinks, like early Kinks, to even maybe not the Rolling Stones, but definitely a lot of those more bubblegum
The
groups like
popular
Herman
stuff.
Jennings or
Yeah.
Jerry and the Pacemakers, the
Yep.
Hollies, you
Oh,
know, so
that's a good call.
um,
I agree.
yeah, it's my number 9.
My number 9 is your number 10. So we flip flop 10, 9, 9, 10.
Okay.
That's, you can't do that. I like the little guitar lick by George. It's sort of a chiming kind of guitar at the beginning there. John's vocal, there's a lot of cowbell going on.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
It's got the bongos and the drums by Ringo. It's, you know, you can't do, I think I have the same line you did. I'm gonna let you down. No, I'm gonna let you down and leave you flat because I told you before you can't do that. And then they go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. It's great to listen to, but it's just not in the upper echelon of this album for me. Like I said, I like 12 out of the 13 songs, so
yeah,
they got to fall somewhere.
Yeah, and again, we haven't mentioned it, but if it's not obvious, we both love this album. I mean,
We do.
it's almost to an extent, almost the first true Beatles album because it's all Beatles, everything about it. So
That's what I like the most about it, is there's not one cover song on it. It's strictly Lennon and McCartney tunes. I wish Ringo would have had a cut, but spread the wealth.
yeah, they had too many good songs, I guess, to throw one to Ringo, but he gets them on the next album.
Yeah.
My number 8, you mentioned it earlier, it's the George Harrison vocal. I'm happy just to dance with you. I love his voice in it. Again, you can tell he's still young. I think he's 20 years old when he's recording this. You know, I'm just happy when you dance with me. He kind of goes me like that.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else I'd rather do. It's just it's very Liverpudlian, and I think that song shows up like in like that big dance scene in the movie where they're just kind of like dancing and, you know, Ringo's going crazy.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I mean, you can really picture the movie too when you hear this. It's a fun movie as well. But yeah, I probably would have put a George song a little bit higher had he written one. But I mean, it actually, I struggled with this one, whether I was going to put it there or even a little bit higher up, just because I love George's vocals.
Yeah.
Throughout his career. He's my second favorite Beatle after Paul. So yeah, it's my number 8. It's a good song. It's worthy of being on the A side of the vinyl.
Oh, absolutely.
So
my number 8 is I'll Be Back, the closer. You had it earlier. Again, it's kind of a downer. It's typical John, like you highlighted earlier, where he's got that negativity going on, but that's him. You can't take that away from him. You could find better things to do than to break my heart again. It's like, you know, he's laying it out there. If you break my heart, I'll go, but I'll be back again.
I'll be back again.
You know, it's melodic. There's really not a chorus. It's just a string of different little
just ending it with I'll be back again.
Yeah.
For every verse.
And you know, for a deep track, I think this could have been a hit too. It had been released on it. It may have been a B-side. I don't recall. Was it on the
Yeah, no.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I like the song. Right in the middle of the pack at number 8 for me.
My number 7 is one I think you mentioned earlier, is Tell Me Why.
Yep.
It's one of those that's really funny. It's almost like they're straining to get toward the end of the song where they sing, there's really nothing else I'd rather do. They all kind of really go high.
Yeah,
they're
real high.
octave. They're like, do. It's almost like they make a mistake and they're kind of covering it up.
Yep.
But I love the intro to that, the bow, 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 bow. It's a great you know, kind of a triple lead vocal on most of the song by Paul, John, and George. It's another one that I kind of juggled with if I was going to put it, you know, even closer to the top 5. But I've always liked it. As a kid, it was always fun to listen to on the speakers. And Tell Me Why You Cry, Why You Lie to Me. It's a fun song, and you can tell they're having fun in the studio with it. So it's my number 7. Not much else to say about it.
Very good. My number 7 is I'll Cry Instead. You had that down further, but
that was my lowest. Yep.
That was your low. I got it at 7. It seems to be John's response to overnight fame, his frustration with losing his freedom, a little bit I get shy when they start to stare. I'm gonna lock myself away, but I'll be back again someday. And when I do, you better hide all the girls, because the girls were just out there screaming. I'm gonna break all their hearts around the world and show you what your loving man can do. Until then, I'll cry instead. So he's he's not sure how he feels about it. He wants to be successful, but he doesn't want all that notoriety where you can't go anywhere without somebody having 35 girls run at you and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
and he's angry about it because he says, I got a chip on my shoulder that's bigger than my feet. You know, but I always like the song, and it is countryish. It's got that little, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
good stuff.
That's interesting, but you have it that high.
Yeah.
All right. That jumps us up to number 6. One of John's finest ballads. If I Fell is number 6. And really, I mean, it's a Lennon McCartney song, but you can tell there's a lot of John influence in it just because of that negativity, but you have beautiful harmony with him and Paul. Of course, in the movie, it's when they're like on the cargo car on the train, and they've kind of got like this little makeshift. I think Ringo's, I don't even know if he's playing a drum. He's playing like a trash can or something in the movie. They're in that scene and they're playing cards, and it's just a really, no, I'm sorry, that's not the scene I'm talking about. I think they're If I Fell is when they're on the sound stage. They just start singing because Ringo's kind of feeling down on himself. But one of those really pretty songs. It sounds like, you know, Paul could have written it too. It's just really melodic. I love the harmonies to it. Just a great Beatles tune. I love Ringo's soft drumming on it. So it's my number 6.
I have it at number 6 also. So we agree on that one. Yeah, like you said, I pretty much echo everything you said. Sentimental, love ballad. The 2-part harmony is great. Melodic. It's a beautiful song, well performed by both guys. And I think it's basically about trust. The lyrics are asking his new love if her feelings are true. He's guarding against being hurt before. You know, just a great song. Love it. Could have been higher, but
yeah, it could have been. Probably at one time in my life, it probably was. I know.
I think it was on mine too.
To a lot of their, I listened to a lot of their ballads kind of on repeat. I know, like on one of our last videos, I mentioned like "Till There Was You." I listened to that song on repeat, and this was one of those on this album, and many of the others where I love the vocals, and I love the just the melancholy nature of it.
Yep.
All right, number 5 for me. Here we're going kind of into the nitty gritty where things are kind of interchangeable.
Yep.
Number 5 is the title track, "Hard Day's Night." Probably the most famous opening chord in musical history. I know for years there were debates on how it was achieved. It's a beautiful opening chord with the guitar and the piano, and I think that was kind of like what people had trouble with, was that it was a guitar and a piano hitting the note at the same time, just hard, and just that open, that bling, that's just a power chord. And then it just kind of stops, and then "It's Been a Hard Day." It's a perfect single for the 60s. It's a perfect opener for the album. It's great for the movie. I think it was one of those where they were talking to a cab driver, and he said, you know, it's been a hard day's night, meaning he's been working himself to the bone and can't tell night from day kind of thing. And just, you know, one of the killer, you know, "When I get home to you, I found the things that I do." And then just a great lead vocal with Paul singing kind of like the middle bridge there, the middle 8. You know, "When I'm gone, everything seems to be right." It's one of those where, you know, it's a true Lennon McCartney song, because you have the John aspects and you have the Paul aspects, and it's just, again, one of those perfect singles that defines Beatlemania. So that's my number 5.
Yep, that's a little bit higher for me. I have number 5, "Things We Said Today," a Paul song. Love it. I guess it's about his relationship with Jane Asher, the model actress he was seeing at the time. And it's a little complicated in the lyrics because he's pondering the current status, he's reflecting on the past, and he's looking to the future of where they're going to be down the road. I really enjoy the songwriting on this. Someday when we're dreaming, deep in love, not a lot to say, then we will remember things we said today. So he's thinking about where they're going to be and looking back at where they are now. And it's a nice, real beautiful song. And top five, number five for me.
Well, it's number 4 for me. It's we've done that about 3 times on this list.
Yeah.
Just kind of flip-flopped here. But yeah, things we said today, again, I love the
I like that too. The beginning and the end, right? They do that chord in the beginning, and then at the end, there's a strumming going on at the end.
Yeah, they kind of fade out with the strumming.
I like it.
Kind of these acoustic guitars, and again, it's in that minor key. There's actually, I know there are certain people that I've heard that have disliked a certain cover of this song that Bob Dylan did on a tribute album a few years back called The Art of McCartney, where tons of the old rockers and pop singers and some more contemporary sang, Beatles and solo McCartney songs. And Dylan does Things We Said Today, and it's his old voice, and I like it a lot. I mean, then again, for me, Bob Dylan can really do no wrong in terms of his music or his covers. I love all of his covers albums too. But yeah, it's one of those, especially playing guitar, learning guitar about the time that I was discovering the Beatles. I'd only been playing guitar for a couple of years, and just anything with an acoustic sound I wanted to play because all I had was an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And so if I could try to learn a Beatles acoustic song, then I was in good shape. So again, I think really those opening strums and the closing strums really kind of set it off onto another level for me. So that's why it's so high, I think. But again, beautiful vocals by Paul as well. Can't understate that.
Yeah. Almost a perfect song for me.
Yeah.
Number 4 is I Should Have Known Better, John tune. Again, the harmonica elevates it. I love that harmonica. It's got that folk rock vibe going on. And I like John's phrasing on some of these lyrics. That when I tell you that I love you, and then he goes, oh, he's kind of moaning a little bit. You're gonna say you love me too. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh. I love that. And when I ask you to be mine, and it gets high. You're gonna say you love me too.
Yeah.
A little guitar solo in there by George as well. It elevates it. So fantastic. I always love this song. I Should Have Known Better.
Yeah, it's my number 3. I love that simple little solo. It's just a note at a time. Down, 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 down. Yeah. And then he kind of finishes by going down, down, down. Like he kind of goes down. Right. But again, we've talked about this in our other 2 videos. John with the harmonica kind of will put the song a little bit higher up for folks like us that enjoy the more country and acoustic sounds. Really great. This is the scene that I was talking about earlier where they're playing it on the train because John has his harmonica.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just one of those great songs. It's one of those that, again, we kind of put the scenario out there too. Like if had the Beatles stayed together and if they were still out there, at least up until like the 90s or so, that this is one that would have been cool to hear live just because John would have that harmonica. And I think it would have gotten a good reaction later on. But yeah, I mean, you kind of already said what needs to be said about it. Just folky. John has some fun little phrasing moments in there. So it's number 3.
Yeah. I like those little, like I mentioned, like the, he's sort of,
he's dragging it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's putting a little emotion in there, so to say. Number 3 for me is Can't Buy Me Love. Great tune. Another one of those early Beatles songs that rocks a bit. It's up tempo. You can actually picture the girls screaming, wigging out in the audience, and when Paul's singing, his head and this and that. And then they've got Ringo on the drums, head bopping, like real steady, good stuff. Money Can't Buy Me Love, and then the screaming coming,
yeah,
just great stuff. It's classic early Beatles.
Oh yeah, it's number 2 for me.
Yeah. And
it's that famous scene of them, running around the field, when they're falling down, like they kind of leave backstage and are messing around. And
yep.
I love how it's an acapella intro essentially where, it's Can't Buy Me, and then it goes into
Yeah.
it where it just starts and there's no
Kicks it
intro
off.
to it.
Yep.
And I think I want to say I got to hear that live when I saw McCartney back in 2014. I think he did it. He was doing it again on that tour.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a perfect song. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people might consider it early power pop. If you go for that sort of thing. I mean, the Beatles were on the ground floor for all that stuff. I love how that again a great last chord. It doesn't fade out where they say love and it just and they just hold it. Paul McCartney is just a master at melody. I mean, he knows how to write a pop song. He still does. I mean, if Paul McCartney were 50 years younger, he would still be making hit records. Just because his hooks are so great. And I know I just recently listened to Egypt Station and McCartney 3 again for the first time in a while. And if you get past his older mature vocals, you're like, that man still can write a hook. At 70 at the time, 76 years old up to 79 years old. Like, good grief, he can still write a song.
Yeah.
So Can't Buy Me Love is prime McCartney.
No doubt. Number 2 for me is A Hard Day's Night, the title track. That opening chord, iconic, like you said. The cowbell again reappears here as well. I just love it. It went up right in between When I'm Home and then the cowbell. Ding, ding, everything seems to be right. The ending, it's just the jangly guitar at the end and then fade out. Love it.
Yeah.
It's just classic. I had a hard time debating Can't Buy Me Love or Hard Day's Night 2 and 3 because they're both legendary songs at this time period. So
they were the number 1 hits. Yeah, they were both number one
hits. I knew what my number 1 was from the jump, and it looks like we hit on it again, which we didn't think we would, but we did.
What's this number? This is the 4th now because we did the White Album first. So this is
And we don't discuss these. These are ad lib on the fly, whatever. It's unbelievable. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were discussing. I don't think you were recording yet before we started filming that. We have a lot of the same taste in our music, and it's really not a big surprise that we keep picking the same songs. But so this is probably the biggest surprise out of all of them. And of course, the song is "And I Love Her," the McCartney tune. It's a pure ballad from McCartney. It's got that beautiful nylon guitar played by George, and from what I understand, George came up with that solo kind of right there on the spot. They handed him a classical guitar and put a solo here, and he did it and knocked it out of the park. And it's one of those, I have a nylon string that I rarely play anymore, but it's one of those first few finger picking songs that I was learning as a young teenager when I was trying to figure out beyond strumming and that sort of thing. And that was one of those early ones. And it's just, I love how he kind of has that arpeggio at the on the higher up on the neck, the doon 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 doon. It's really beautiful. And this kid's 20 years old coming up with that on the spot,
Yep.
Just the vocals by McCartney are just pristine. And I love, he doesn't do the song that much anymore live, but I always am sure to look up lighter versions of him doing it live. He did it, I think, on the back in the US tour in the early 2000s, and it sounded fantastic on it. His guitarist was hitting all the George licks perfectly, and it's always been my favorite song on this album. I mean, as soon as I heard it, and again, it's starting to show Paul's maturity as a songwriter too, because of course at this point he hadn't written Yesterday yet, but you can kind of see which direction he was going to go with his ballads and his arrangements. So yeah, it's number 1. I knew it immediately.
Me too. What I do when I make these lists on my own, I always pick out my favorite song and my least favorite song, and then I figure out the rest as I go.
Fill in the sandwich. Yep.
That I know immediately what the top of the line is, and then sometimes there's more than one that fight it out for the bottom, but perfect song in every way. I love that opening guitar. The vocal by Paul is perfect, and I like the lyrics. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die. And then the instrumental at the end, do 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 do. It's just awesome. and it's got some bongos and claves. I really don't know what claves are, wooden sticks or something that they play,
Yeah, it's like a tune.
percussion
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, but it works perfectly in this song.
And I forgot to mention too, the last note is kind of like that surprise where it ends on a major. I think it ends on a D chord. Because like the whole song is it's going burn down 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 down, and then at the end it goes burn down down bling. Like
Yeah.
it kind of just
It's a
like,
great ending.
and
Yeah.
it ends, yeah, it doesn't fade out. It's a true ending to the song.
I'm really surprised that we hit on that. I thought I was being overly sentimental picking that at my number one.
No,
It's a beautiful song. It had to be number one for me.
yeah, me too.
Very cool. So that wraps up our third album here, A Hard Day's Night. Make sure you subscribe to Sam St. John. Check his channel out. For sure, he's doing all kinds of things. Americana, Beatles, as we know. He loves Van Morrison, Bob Dylan, John Prine, all the legends. So check him out. He sings, he does it all, and he's great to come on here and do this with me. I really appreciate it. So give him a sub if you haven't already. I know a lot of my viewers already are aware of Sam St. John, but if you're not, please go over and check his channel out. We will be back with Beatles for Sale in the next continuing version of this series. So take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.